All right, folks, I've got a little bit of a problem here. I'm supposed to be editing those videos that we shot out at Google Next. Now, I'm also supposed to be on a flight not very long. That's a big problem. But luckily, I've got a solution. I'm taking you with me to Miami. So let's head on over to the San Antonio International Airport, and I'll roll the first clip with the Vice President of Professional Services over at Google, Mr. Brad Little.
Large token limits on models are now available, and we had seen some limitations there. Now we're able to ingest entire books or very large amounts of data as part of generative AI, which will open up a whole new range of use cases. And that's a super exciting improvement.
Large token limits, why does that matter to the world? What was the impact that they saw?
It's how much information you can put into a prompt in a generative AI use case. So, during the keynote, it was a great use case example where they ingested the entire Department of Motor Vehicles manual, and then you could ask questions about what are the most common pedestrian laws that are out there and get the answer back. So if you're a customer looking to provide summarization on top of your knowledge base, this allows you to use larger and larger sets of data to work with. I think the other thing, we saw a huge expansion in the number of available models, including public models like Llama 2, Claude 2. So again, giving greater choice to our customers, whether you're using Google developed models or other public models. From the Model Garden continues to be a great way for customers to pick the right model that meets the use case that they need to solve for. So, and then a ton of announcements around Duet, which is embedding generative AI into all of our products, whether it's sheets, slides.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So, I mean, all of our products are infusing generative AI inside of there. So whether or not you're generating code, images with Imagen, or generating text embedded in your documents, there's a ton of improvements out there. I encourage everybody to go take a look at all that. Starting tomorrow, we will be announcing Delivery Navigator, which is a platform for our partners to use that will give all of our partners access to our internal tooling, methodologies, and ways of working in Google professional services and cloud consulting. We want to help our partners and our customers adopt the platform as rapidly and efficiently as possible. And Delivery Navigator is a way to do that. It's also enabled by generative AI. You can't make a product release without having Gen AI on top of it these days.
Nothing releases without Gen AI in it.
But what it'll allow is for our partners and our practitioners to ask questions about how do I do a VM migration? What's the best architecture for any given use case? What's the best way to create a cloud foundation? And we also feel like we have a responsibility as Google Cloud to set some standards for the overall professional services world.
Good.
I mean, our customers are, they see us, they work with a lot of partners, including our team, and they're saying, hey, look, everybody's coming in with different ways of working, different lingo, different deliverables, different phases. There's different definitions of what a foundation is. Can you please bring some order to the overall market? So this is another way that we're doing that. We're providing it free to our partners. So you'll see more about that in our announcements tomorrow, and we're excited about it. It's been we've been working on this for the last 2 years, and our team has been. It's a Google developed product with Google content, but also we want our partners to collaborate with us and contribute content back into it.
All right, folks, well, welcome to Atlanta. Wasn't that some good stuff from Brad? Loved his key 3 takeaways from the Google announcements, as well as his own announcements. Really excited about that. All right, next, let's turn our attention to a conversation I had with Srini, the CTO of Rackspace Technologies. Going to talk a little bit about our methodology, as well as what a true responsible deployment utilizing AI looks like.
The concept of AI and these use cases even aren't new. If you had to kind of build supervised, unsupervised learning algorithms to be able to go get information and derive it from what we're working on, it was a little bit more tough to do it even last year. You had challenges around finding the right talent, finding the right type of algorithms that are needed to be able to go build this. But what's changed with GPT-4 and like all the other large language model concepts that have come out is a lot of this is now at our fingertips, right? And I've heard it referred to as English as a programming language. Right?
That's a great way to see it,
Your ability to use prompts and very well-defined prompts to train a model, those things have kind of really put a jetpack on a lot of these use cases. So for Rackspace, as an organization that depends on the intelligence and the knowledge that our rackers carry, the effects that we can have in the market are amplified when there's more collaboration and sharing. So if I happen to run into a problem and I've documented it and I've said, like, there's something, hey, here's a problem we've solved, and there's a racker out in India or in Vietnam who is dealing with the same challenge, being able to access it, being able to have that at their fingertips is huge. So what we've done within Rackspace is to take these use cases, especially around a context-sensitive knowledge search, and we built out an enterprise-grade solution called Rackspace ICE, the Intelligent Coworker for an enterprise, ICE. And that was critical for us to build it that way, because now we're able to not just use it internally to drive a lot of that productivity benefits. We're actually demonstrating it out there, and these are some of the same things that you saw with the Gen AI studio that they were showing on stage yesterday, and then you walk over and here's a completely industrialized, productized version of what you saw on stage, and that's so cool to kind of be at Google Next and be one of the first out there.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So one of the latest tools that we've created is in and around, we call it the diagnostic tool. So let's talk about what that does for customers.
Right. So we yesterday we announced a AI diagnostic, a fair AI diagnostic, and the idea is pretty simple. A lot of people are excited about AI. They're reading about it. They actually are wondering if it's applicable to their environment.
Can it make a difference in my business?
Can it make a difference in my business? And so it absolutely can is the answer. However, where are you in that journey? Do you have the data that you need, right? Is the supply chain of data clean so that you can actually train these models? Do you have the skills required? More importantly, do you have your values and ethics codified into AI principles into your enterprises? So the diagnostic tool, what we've announced and what's on our website at fair.rackspace.com is you can go in and for your organization answer 12 short questions, and it actually gives you a start for where you are in that journey and what are the things you should be thinking about.
Srini, one of the things I wanted to also talk about was, as we think about how AI is going to come into an organization, there are a lot of folks who are worried, what's going to happen to the job market. But I think we're in the same mind here, is it actually creates opportunity.
Actually, this is a fascinating topic, and there's a lot of debates going on. David Otter, who's MIT, he studies workplaces and others, done a survey, and I was reading it. He's done a report on it. I was reading it the other day. He thinks AI and generative AI solutions are going to impact the top end of the market, the expertise, right? Because I don't need the expert anymore, because you can actually go and tap into the world's best experts by getting into this. Some of them believe that this is almost going to be like, remember the golden age in the United States where you could actually go into and get a college degree and then go out there and
get a job that you had for
your career. And that's the mid-level piece. And they actually think this could actually benefit those people in the middle, because now you can be a lot more productive. And I thought that was very that was fascinating, because it's early days in AI and the adoption of AI. And I happen to be one that's a lot more a glass half full person, because I do believe that this is going to benefit. And obviously you have to have the guardrails in place to make sure that the bad stuff does not happen.
Because there's always bad guys and they want to do bad things.
And then when you have the bad guys out there, if the good guys lay down their arms, then you've already lost.
Yeah.
So you
stay in the fight.
It's going to be there. So you absolutely want to fight the good fight. You want to make sure that you're putting out solutions that are good for the world and the people.
And what constitutes responsible AI?
Yeah. Responsible AI it's actually very important, and a lot of people define it in different ways, but at FAIR and at Rackspace, we've defined it with 3 characteristics.
Yeah.
Number 1, to be responsible, AI has to be symbiotic, right? Meaning it has to coexist with human beings.
It's there to help.
Replace them. Yeah, it's there to help. It's there to kind of bring out the best and increase productivity and those things, but it can't be there to supplement.
That's right.
Number 2, it has to be secure. Because again, with the amount of information that's going in, it is actually very important not just to secure the information and personal information, but also to protect it from, because AI gets trained, no matter what you hear from science fiction movies and others, it's trained by algorithms, it's trained by data.
Yeah.
So the only way it gets corrupted is if your supply chain of data is corrupted.
Right.
If you don't have the right input, it's the old adage of garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
So it's got to be symbiotic, it has to be secure, and it has to be sustainable.
Right.
And it's the 3 S's, symbiotic, secure, and sustainable. Sustainable is again, very critical, because when you train these models, you're seeing this with many of these large language models. As it progresses and it learns more, it's hallucinating more.
Yeah.
The way you need to be able to train this, make sure that it is consistently delivering results that are improving, that's eliminating bias, that's available to the broader swath of population, not just the elite few at the top. Those things are all critical, and they're not esoteric conversation. We actually take it, and this is where Rackspace is different. We take these constructs and we convert them into what's called non-functional requirements. Right?
Well, hey everybody, I just finished my meeting here in Miami with a customer. I can't tell you who it is.
Stack. As an example, when I look at the Vertex AI extensions, the Vertex Duet, as a developer today, it's always been, if I have to go and deploy a specific stack in my entire application portfolio, you had a lot of worry points. Am I deploying the right version of the software? Is this specific portfolio compliant, or does it have the right security embeddings in it? A lot of that is going away now. Now with the Duet coming in, and we can talk deeper about that. This is some of the bigger challenges we are solving for the customers and the productivity of developers. Right. So all in all, we're seeing overt focus on productivity, overt focus on making the migrations easy. We announced the AlloyDB and the AlloyDB Omni, which straddles and stripes the on-prem versus the hybrid to the cloud. So we are going to meet the customers where they are. Cloud is a journey. It's not a destination. And over a period of time, your waypoints are going to change. And the value proposition and where you get the value chain, so to speak, in the technology stack will keep shifting. It's never going to be in one place. So you're right. I mean, there will always be aspects of computing which will be on-prem. We'll meet you there. And like I said, the AlloyDB and the AlloyDB Omni is the best example of that.
It really is.
Even Anthos can go and straddle across both sides of the cloud, right? When you look at the business strategy, and going back to the early, turn of the decade, when the school of thought was that you got to be all in one cloud. It breaks the model, right? But when you come down and have these conversations on what is the business value driver and how will I achieve that, at the most tactical sense, we want our customers, our business partners, to be in the business of getting the next innovative thing and the fastest speed, the agility which matters. Not in the business of figuring out how to get 100 more servers, or trying to manage that data center, or trying to manage that contact center for their data center, which I believe is undifferentiated heavy lifting for them, right? So when the cloud came in, it's an equal balance. It is. And then we saw that from a Google Cloud perspective, leaning in more towards how can we unlock the value for the customers quicker, faster with technology, and have them innovate there, and not be in the business of managing their so-called data centers. We are not positioning AI, and we will never, as just one little shiny sliver. It is getting embedded into the entire stack. It is ubiquitous, and it's going to stay. AI will not take away jobs.
Right.
People with AI will do better with people without AI.
Absolutely.
It's a simple thing
It's
as
as
that,
simple
right?
as that.
I've been in the technology business for 20-some years.
Yeah.
And almost 20 years ago, we used to have the construct of a paired programming. We used to have two developers looking at the same set of screens, same code,
Right.
because we used to believe that two eyes are,
You're better than one.
exactly.
Actually, yeah.
Two sets of eyes. Now the same construct happens, but it's a virtual developer or a virtual buddy, so to speak.
Right.
And now it's integrated into your IDE. We already have examples where developers have embraced AI,
Yeah.
and they are talking about how they're getting 20, 30, 40% increase in productivity.
Mm-hmm.
They can literally look at the code in real time, buffer overflows, intrusion detection, or you have memory leaks,
Yeah.
which can be literally remediated in real
In
time
real
because
time.
you are having that conversation saying, hey, I am trying to do something.
This is what I'm trying to accomplish.
And
What's the best way?
you have that buddy in Cody, deep integrations giving you that.
Right.
Think of that. Now, a developer who embraces that versus a developer doesn't, it's a choice.
Right.
But you see where the industry is heading, right? And finally, I'll keep repeating this. Inside the organizations, have that ambassador, have that evangelist. There are various terms and nomenclature people use. People use cloud centers of excellence. They call them mavens, whatever it is.
There's got to be a champion.
This is a team sport.
Yeah.
You cannot have generative AI working only in one part of the organization.
That's
to
right.
get the full benefit, you have to look at the entire spectrum, right? That's where you start.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is another beautiful day here in Miami, Florida on this trip. Now, I have got another amazing Googler for you that I got to visit with last week at Google Next. Now, she is the leader of healthcare and life sciences for Google here in North America, and her name is Amy Waldron. Now, we had a great conversation. She talks an awful lot, and you're going to love this, about her why she is involved in healthcare inside of Google.
So I'm responsible for healthcare and life sciences, the solution strategy.
Okay.
So I spend my time working with our customers across the industry and understanding what their business challenges are, what they're actually trying to add from a value perspective in the future, and then tie that back to how we can accelerate that with Google technology.
Yeah.
And so that means technology that we have if they want to build it, but more importantly, technology that a lot of our ecosystem comes together and solutions that they've created. So if you look at the ISV world, you look at the GSI and RSI world, like a lot of the speed to value comes from being able to kind of stitch together our ecosystem and create those solutions for our customers. So that's what I do.
Tell me a little about how you got here.
It was definitely an interesting road. I started out in consulting.
Okay.
So I spent 20 years at PwC, so an undergrad business degree, communications. Halfway through my career at PwC, I decided to get my MBA and wanted to tackle something that I didn't know that much about, so I chose technology.
Welcome to technology.
And little did I know I would end up here. Spent another 10 years at PwC, and then was asked to join a mission-based healthcare consulting firm.
Okay.
So was excited to do that. As you know, I have a child who was born with a half a heart, and so I have spent a lot of time being on the other side and navigating the patient world, so felt that this was something that I needed to do.
Right.
And spent 5 years with the Chartist Group, and then ended up joining the healthcare and life sciences team at Google.
Okay.
In the solutions role. So when I came on board a little over 5 years ago, there was definite hesitancy for, I would say, the life sciences and healthcare industry to embrace the cloud for many reasons. I think people were unsure of the security. They knew about the scale. They knew about the power of cloud technology, the power of AI, but using it in the industry because of that concern about security. When I looked at the market, probably 90% of the market 5 years ago was still on-prem. And it's amazing.
That's not that long ago.
No, and it's amazing how fast the industry can move once it decides to move or has to move.
A catalyst.
So
you had some show up and say, well, let's leave the stuff we have, but maybe cloud first for the new things.
Exactly. So it was like 2 years later where everyone was saying cloud first because they knew innovation had to come.
Right.
They knew they needed the compute power But they were still trying to figure out, you're right, it was like the new versus a lot of, I would say, the infrastructure
the
that
safe
exists.
stuff that's over there, I don't want to think about moving.
Yeah.
I don't want to clean the garage, but
Yeah.
for the new stuff, we'll do it over here.
And then we had this little thing called COVID.
Oh, that.
And so that's where I think a lot of organizations realized, and even countries realized, that from a healthcare perspective, we have to get our data in order, but we also have to be using this technology because we were put in a position where we really had to keep people apart from each other. It didn't stop people from having cancer. It didn't stop people from having all these medical challenges. It just made it more challenging. And so we had to figure out, how do we accelerate going into a virtual or kind of a hybrid type environment? And that's when I think there was this massive jump into using it as a survival skill. Now organizations, cloud technology has come incredibly far. Now you look at it and people have comfort, like the security has come so far and the scalability has come so far. And the one problem that healthcare really had to tackle, besides the safety and security, was interoperability. In order to really take advantage of artificial intelligence, you have to be able to harmonize that data. And that was something where, today we have come so far and we can do that with our interoperability capabilities, that the magic really is starting to come together for the industry, I think now. My daughter had a heart transplant 2 years ago. And we had planned it out. We knew it was coming. And so we were living in the hospital for a few months before the transplant.
Amazing.
And she was ready. We were ready to go on the transplant list. And the doctor said, okay, we've got to start the prior authorization process. And I kind of was like, what?
Wait,
we know she's
been here for a few months now.
Yeah. And so they said, no, this is just part of the process. We've got to fill out this paperwork. It'll take about 2 weeks. And I sat there and couldn't believe, first of all, that this even had to take place, given, no one was surprised by this transplant. And the fact that I watched nurses and doctors gather this copious amounts of information and spend their time managing the administration back and forth when there's people that need to be cared for.
Yeah.
So, I sat there looking at this process, and they're everywhere. Processes like this are everywhere in healthcare, both on the payer and the provider side. And so you look at this and you say, how can we remove some of this administrative work across the entire system, especially when you look at the provider and nurse burnout problem that we have today? And even on the payer side, when information is coming in, they still have people on the other end doing data entry. So AI and ML this is the perfect
scenario for it.
Perfect challenge for us to tackle.
And so you tackled it.
We did tackle it. We did tackle it about 6 or 9 months ago.
Okay.
We rolled out Claims Acceleration Suite, and the whole objective was to look at making information flow and taking out the administrative work. And so not only can we make the information flow and reduce the burden on clinicians and their teams, but also as we make the information flow, we're making it interoperable. And so the fun part about that is, as we talked about earlier, the healthcare system has tons of data everywhere on all of us. It's all locked up everywhere. And so being able to make that information flow, then all of a sudden you start seeing value as a consumer that can come back to you.
Right.
And so we have been doing a lot with operational efficiency. And now with generative AI, we're going to see a massive acceleration of the value that comes from really removing a lot of that administrative work and being able to provide much better service to our doctors, our nurses, our patients. Because if we can use, there's two great, let's say, there's a lot of great technologies out there, but two packaged kind of solutions that Google recently released is we took Google Search and we have Vertex AI Search, which basically gives every organization the power of Google Search. Wow. So when you think about any type of activity in healthcare where someone has to dig into a system, go find information, read through PDFs, we now can use our Google Search technology to do a search and to actually summarize that information.
folks, one last layover and one more video for you, and it is not from a Googler. I'd like to introduce you to Tom Ray, who is the CEO of a company called CloudM out of the UK. They do some amazing things with moving email around, disaster recovery, some incredible stuff. So here's your last video.
Well, CloudM has been around actually for about 10 years or so.
Yeah.
It was born in the Google ecosystem initially. So the story goes back in about 2009. The original founder was asked by Google themselves to develop the technology.
Oh, really?
So back then, if you can cast your mind back, lots of people were using Lotus Notes, GroupWise, Exchange on-prem, and we're looking for alternatives. And Google brought out Google Apps.
Yep.
And they didn't have any tooling. No ISV was in the community that could do that. So the company was born. They built out the initial bit of technology. So at the beginning, it was lots and lots of Lotus Notes, lots and lots of GroupWise migrating in.
GroupWise.
GroupWise, yeah. Zimbra is still a favorite.
Really?
Still, to this day, yeah. It's interesting because every year we've got a dashboard at work and it shows you how many migrations we've done. So I think we've just clocked over 80 million migrations. Big numbers. And underneath that, it shows you the splits, both over time, sort of ad infinitum, but also in year. And each year, it's surprising number of Zimbra Lotus Notes still migrating.
Lotus Notes is still, well, not as much of alive and well because you've pulled stuff out of it. But
Yeah. But it's still, these platforms are deeply ingrained, especially things like Lotus Notes.
Yeah, because that was a
dev.
platform. I mean, it truly was a platform.
Exactly. And there's still a lot of Microsoft out there that's still on-prem or in some sort of managed hosted environment. But more and more moving out into 365. So as that CloudM's evolved over the years, not just Google now, also there's Microsoft as well.
Yeah.
Very much heritage and migration, but we'll leverage that migration technology now to do archive backup and other sort of, if you like, data management tasks on top of those two platforms. So that's the potted history.
So you're in the business of helping move stuff from on-prem, whatever that flavor is, out into 365 or into Google
Workspace.
Google Workspace. So, in the early days, people were choosing to go to 365 or to Google.
Yeah.
It was easier. There was more capabilities that were there. Some would argue security was better. But you still had a camp, especially in 2010, in 2015, of companies who said, look, we can run these servers better.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on God's green earth who should be running an email server on-prem?
No. You'd be absolutely nuts to do it. I mean, the level is to keep up. I mean, the breadth of security vectors that you need to protect against these days, it's difficult to be able to keep up with it and to try and do that
it's
yourself.
It's hard to keep a server online,
for sure.
let alone.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's that natural evolution to get out there. That's sort of over a period of time. We did some. We took investment at the end of last year, Jeff, and as part of that, we did a bunch of like market analysis work. And the third party we used is a company called Altman, and they went out and did some market analysis, and they came back and said, look, over the next 5 years, so today in 2023, they reckon it's about 500 million people use a paid-for version of Google Workspace or 365. Just in terms of orders of
across
magnitude.
those two,
There's loads and loads of other people that use it in the free versions, but in sort of the paid for
people who are writing a check, $5 a month, $500,000 a month.
Exactly, in that ecosystem. So that extrapolate that out, it's a big number.
Yeah.
They believe, and the split within that was also interesting. So again, these are rough numbers, but about 350 million people active on 365 and about 150 million on Workspace.
Interesting.
Kind of orders of magnitude.
Right.
I don't
Again,
know how
paid, but
accurate they are because the vendors don't tell you explicitly.
No, they
but
don't.
directionally, the point is big numbers.
2/3, 1/3.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of resonates based on what we see in the market. Obviously Google have got a strong affiliation in some of the sort of startup space.
Yes.
They're kind of digital natives. And then you've got other companies, perhaps more in the larger enterprises that have sort of an affinity towards 365 and everything in between. But what they were showing in their piece of analysis was over the next 5 years, they think that's going to be up to sort of around about $1 billion. And they were looking
5 years.
In about 5 years.
Double in 5 years of people who are paying for email.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, wow, okay, so growing market, growing for both vendors in sort of reasonably similar proportions.
Right.
The point is, that's big.
It's really big.
Really big. Big numbers associated.
Everything you've done for the past 10 years, do it again in 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, I think that might well be the case.
Yeah.
But the challenge now comes on, you've got organizations that have been on 365 or Workspace for a long period of time, in some cases. We've got one Indian customer who, they've got about 10 petabytes of data.
Oh.
And so the interesting thing there is you've got to a scale where this is between sort of, this particular customer was a Google one, so they've got, between shared drives, Drive, and email, those stores.
All of that together.
Yeah, all of that together. Now the challenge then becomes, but what I need to, obviously from a sort of governance perspective, you can't keep all that data forever.
Yeah.
But what can I remove? How do I go about working out what I can and what I can't? For all the levers from the business, so there's lots of complexities in managing that data set.
Yeah.
And it, when you output, post a petabyte of data, the numbers are big.
Yeah.
Actually moving those forms of data around becomes materially difficult.
Yeah, it does.
Just because of the API constraints and physics.
And the speed of light really is a pain in the neck, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So we sort of see ourselves in that ecosystem helping customers of 365 and Workspace manage these data sets, either getting in or once you're in, managing that off-board process for people that are leaving the business, or B, just optimizing your storage.
Now, you were telling me earlier that with your archiving capabilities, that you're actually archiving from one cloud to another.
Yeah, we've got some quite cool things that are happening. So this is quite new, but we've got more customers now from a compliance perspective saying, look, we need to be able to protect our data. So let's say I am on Microsoft 365. Okay. I might want to be able to say, look, I've got 10,000 people in my organization, but I need to protect an alternative platform.
Yeah.
Let's call it 1,500 users.
Right.
So we have, using our technology, we can actually migrate and essentially we replicate that data into Google Workspace. Okay. So it's like a dormant account.
Yeah.
So if you imagine you've got the identity is sitting over there, it's ready to go with the same passwords, etc. You've got your data over there with it's roughly a 20-minute fidelity on email, slightly longer on docs. That's sitting in the if you like the disaster recovery tenant. Yeah. Now, if you'd asked me this question 3 years ago, I'd have gone, "You're mad.
You're bonkers.
Why would you do this?
Why would you do that? Why would you spend that money?" Because you think about, 365 knows a little something about security.
Oh, for sure. And they do a great job. To be clear, Microsoft do a great job, as do Google. They are coming back to it.
They're the pros.
They're the pros. And to try and do this yourself is materially difficult. They do an exceptionally good job. But it's more around people inside your organization. It's malicious users, or even accidental. Yeah. People make mistakes. Yeah, exactly. And
Control A, delete is a bad.
It's a bad life choice.
Yeah.
But you may not find out about those accidents until later down the line. You may have denial of service through a third-party dependency, like your authentication provider, for example. Yeah. And all these different permutations. If you're providing mission critical support for your function, you're in healthcare, or maybe you're in a federal department, you want that ability that in those circumstances, I want the ability to be able to access core data and be able to communicate with people. It's an unusual, we didn't see this on the horizon.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody, no.
But there is a solid use case.
There is a solid use case there in those. And if you peel back the onion, between migrations, backing up, archiving, disaster recovery replication, all of this is predicated on our migration technology. That's
the engine underneath everything.
Exactly. That's the thread, the golden thread that runs through all of this. We're just deploying it in different ways, in different scenarios. Right. And MSPs like Rackspace leverage that technology inside their either MSP wrappers. You're looking to provide value-added services to your end customers and have that in sort of part of your toolkit. Yeah. We want to be, if you like, the end user of our technology. We put it through their lens. So he or she works as typically the kind of, the Google Workspace or the 365 administrator or administrators, architects in larger businesses. Yeah. And we want to be their toolkit. So
You're the enabler of those folks.
Yeah. So if you imagine, I've got a lot of stuff to do, all the asks from the business around security, around migration for any acquisitions and demergers. Yeah. A number of times, actually, interestingly, we do a lot of tenant-to-tenant consolidation work. So if you imagine you've got Microsoft tenants 1, 2, and 3, migrating them all into a single new tenant.
Or big company buys smaller company, bring them all in.
You get all the combinations. Yeah. And that largely, whoever's doing the buying predicates which way they're going to go. Yeah. So it's, we've had a few good examples this year where big Google organizations have bought Microsoft Shop.
So bring them on in. All right, back back in San Antonio, and this trip comes to an end. Not a bad plan to bring you along. Thank you so much for being a part of this. 2 days, 4 airports, 5 different interviews, and about 2,500 miles traveled. Thanks so much for being a part of it. Hope you enjoyed it. Great having you along.